Welcome to the Iron Self podcast, where we jump into health, fitness, mindset, and becoming the best version of yourself. Today with your hosts, Mike and Kayla Minion. Welcome back to the Iron Self podcast. On today's episode, we welcome Brittany Ashley. Brittany is the founder of Creative Dynamics Virtual Services, a wife and a mother of two amazing children who wants to make an impact in the business sector. Creative Dynamics Virtual Services is a full-service boutique-style virtual assistant team focused on cheering on businesses and supporting them through systems and strategies. Before founding Creative Dynamics with two kids in tow at home, Brittany earned her bachelor's in marketing and communications and has worked in a variety of industries, including the tech industry, which has helped shape her understanding of many business dynamics. This past year, she has started a new venture in becoming a certified business coach with the ICF credentials to help online service owners build their business of their dreams. Please put your hands together with a warm welcome for Brittany Ashley. Welcome, Brittany.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yes, we are super excited. So, chatting about coaching, obviously, you know that we're coaches, and we know that you are a coach as well, but in a different dynamic. No pun intended.
There's so many facets to coaching, right? I mean, people can have coaches for quite literally anything that they want to excel at in their lives. So, I mean, the start of this conversation, I guess, would be what does coaching mean to you and your business, and what does it mean to you and your clients?
Mm-hmm. So I started coaching only really this year, to be honest, right? I'm right now taking my ICF credentials, and it's a full-on training process, very intensive. So what is coaching to me and to my clients? Right now, I am niching more specifically on the online space, and really what I want to do is empower women within business. So that's going to look at like leadership development, empowerment pieces, and if they're stuck in their business, how can we leverage it, strategize? So there's it's pretty big piece, but every coach is completely different, like we mentioned. And what it means to my clients is the empowerment piece. So if you're stuck in your business and you're just kind of spinning your wheels and you need someone to kind of bounce ideas off of, sometimes you just need that sounding board and you already have those ideas. Or sometimes you're stuck in limiting beliefs and you just don't know how to overcome those. I actually just read an article that 70% of us get stuck in limiting beliefs. And if you think of like even celebrities too that win like Global Globes and all that stuff, they are constantly battling with limiting beliefs. So just to kind of break down the barriers for people in a business settings, just help them get so much further.
I love that you said that it's really about helping your clients get further ahead, and that's really what we believe about coaching too. So if you don't have a coach, of course, you can still make it in business. Of course, you can still make it in your health, your nutrition, and all those things. I mean, we live in the day and age of information. If you want information, it's at your fingertips, like literally. So when we hire a coach really helps us exemplify those results faster. It helps us get out of our own way and to see things from a different perspective is what I think.
Yeah, no, I love that because like Kayla was saying, everything is so readily available now. You can Google anything. If you're like, hey, how do I get ahead in this aspect of my life? You can Google it and you can try and piece it together yourself, and it might just take a little bit of extra time, but there's lots of people that do that and they are wildly successful. But then there's the other people that are like, you know what? I don't want to waste all my time investing, in the research myself, whereas I could hire somebody who's already done that research, right? So that to me is like, that step up, the ability to eliminate the trial and error for somebody who's already done that for us.
Totally. And so then we start to exemplify those results. We start to push people a little further, looking at it from different perspectives, helping people step outside that comfort zone. And I love that you touched on limiting beliefs because we don't realize sometimes the limiting beliefs that we've created for ourselves.
Or that have been instilled in us from a very young age.
100%.
So when it comes to limiting beliefs, and maybe we should define this first because I think some people might not know what a limiting belief is. So a limiting belief is a belief that we hold about ourselves or about the world around us that prevents us from stepping outside of that. So when it comes to limiting beliefs, what would you say are your main tricks to kind of begin to tackle those?
It's mind over matter, really. It's so if you kind of go at something at, like, I'm going to fail at something, try to switch your mind frame of how you can see yourself succeeding. So before you even start saying that you're going to fail, think of how you can change that mindset or that tone in your head that you will succeed. It's definitely it's a hard one for sure for a lot of people, but it's just kind of like, if you can't expect yourself that you're going to lose, say, 10 pounds within a week. It's a process. You need to kind of like practice that mentality, and the brain is a big one. It really, sometimes you have to really push forward. I think it's important to touch on that. Coaches aren't counselors. Coaches are very action oriented. We want to see you really get to that action specific goals that we have set for you, where counseling or counselors are more working with you to coping mechanisms.
I would agree with that in part, for sure, because I 100% agree that coaches are not counselors. Counselors obviously have their place and their purpose. But I think as a coach, a lot of the time we do counsel our clients because we become part of other parts of their life, right? When we look at limiting beliefs are ingrained in our lives. It's not just one facet. When I believe I'm going to fail at maybe weight loss, I also might believe I'm going to fail at another aspect of my life in regards to, maybe I also believe I can't succeed in business. Maybe I also believe that I'm not going to be able to hit my goal in another aspect. So to me, I think that there is a little bit of a crossover there, and it's really important to be open when it comes to addressing these limiting beliefs. It's not just about what's going on in our brain. It's like our body will continue forward, but we have to convince our mind to continue past that limiting belief. And I love that you said looking at it from another perspective, switching that shift. What is the other side of that coin? But also, I think acknowledging where these limiting beliefs might be coming from, where we may have, I guess, adopted them from.
Well, and a lot of what we talk about with our clients is, switching the story that you're telling yourself, right? Because a lot of these limiting beliefs come from those stories that we've been telling ourselves over and over and over again in our lives, those recurring patterns of those stories, and learning how to, like Kayla was saying, look at it from a different perspective and being able to say, maybe it's not that I can't achieve this goal, it's that I haven't found the right way to achieve this goal for myself yet, and then being able to move forward with that.
100%.
Yeah, I just want,
100%.
because I'm being like a trained ICF coach, we have ethics and guidelines that we have to follow, learn inside and out. So ICF coaches who are world around within Canada and United States, UK, and all the places, we have to listen to if people are really stuck on those limiting beliefs that are actually founded in maybe something from the past, because coaches don't look really into the past and dig into the past, right? So that's why I wanted to touch a little bit on counselors, because it's important for us as ICF coaches, to really see if someone's getting really stuck in the past, and then that's when you refer them to a counselor or a therapist, because they dig deeper and the root of the problem, where we're very future-oriented, goal-oriented. We already know you have it in you to get to the sky's the limit. It's just you need that sounding person.
I agree. It's super important to make sure that we are referring people out to other professionals that obviously have way more information and knowledge in a specific realm, because that does help you step out of your own way, and you don't always realize by seeing a professional like a counselor or a therapist, how these aspects might be translating into other parts of your life. So I 100% agree. It's really important to refer out. So when it comes to addressing limiting beliefs, you talked about looking at it from a different perspective. What other kind of tips would you have for people that are struggling with limiting beliefs, whether they can or they can't achieve something or get out of their own way?
I think it's important to just, sometimes you have to sit down and write everything down. And then if you're really stuck in a certain situation, I like to suggest stick notes and post-its and have like different empowering words around maybe your mirror or wherever you're going that you're constantly seeing to kind of switch that mindset a little bit.
Yeah, switching into a more positive mind state, I think, is super beneficial, because when we focus on the positive, we bring more positive into our lives. Brainstorming is a great way to do that, for sure.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Practicing gratitude. That's one of my favorite for switching that mindset. If you are the constant naysayer that, dwelling on everything, or just, if you start to practice gratitude, bringing that into your life, it can really change that mind state pretty quickly.
I have an app that I have that's called I Am, and it's like a free downloadable. You can pay for. There is a paid version, but I use the free portion, and it sends me affirmations in relation to what I put in that I want affirmations. So mine are in regards to self-care. So it's like affirmations. I get 10 of them a day that pop up on my phone as a notification. And for me, that's an excellent reminder of like what my goal is, where I'm headed, and that I can do this no matter what. And I have found huge value in that. So I love that you're saying, put these words around your house, putting these affirmations where you can see them, because that constant reminder, when we focus on the good, and this comes from like my precision nutrition coaching background, it's like when you continuously focus on that good, the bad just starts to melt away, because we start putting more and more effort towards what it is that we do want versus what we don't want, what is serving us versus what isn't.
Yeah, it turns into like a manifestation, or like the power of the intention, right? You are in making it happen in your life just by manifesting it. I love that.
Yeah, it's crazy if you think about it. When you write things down and how things kind of come and evolve a little bit more, and you're like, oh wow, like I wrote that down maybe like 2 years ago, and now I'm like surpassed it, and I'm here today. So writing it down, it just kind of takes you to another level, really. Because I feel like starting your own business, even just starting from day one, you're going to have like so many people question, being like, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? And then you start having self-doubt. And you're like, yeah, I think I want to do that. I'm pretty sure I want to do that. I have a lot of passion in me, but I'm hearing all the negatives. So when I started my business, I was in a lot of mom groups, and it was a lot of hearing a lot of negativity. And so sometimes you have to be that stronger person to get yourself out of that negativity and surround yourself with the positive people, right? You guys can probably relate to a little bit of this, of starting your own business as well. Like there's sometimes people they just don't see your passion, which is fine. Doesn't mean that you can't.
100%. I actually, my Nana, when I told her what I do for a living, she's like, you can make money doing that? I was like, well, I do put food on the table this way. Like, because it's not that 9 to 5 normal quote unquote job that most people see as like, this is what a job is. And I think being an entrepreneur and stepping into that entrepreneurial world is a different aspect. But I think that no matter what your goal is, there's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people that don't support you, that don't see your vision, that don't necessarily understand why you're doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I always tell people, you want to see where in your body that intention is coming from for you. Like, why do you want this? Where in your body are you feeling this? If you're feeling this like in your heart or in your solar plexus, and we're just feeling it in this region, like this is a driver. This is like, I need to do this. This is a deep rooted internal feeling. Like, go for it. You have one life to live. Why would you hold back? And I always say to Mike, I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? We lose everything and we live in a box. You know, I mean, if that's my worst case scenario, I also know that I have the audacity to push myself outside of that box and to overcome that. Because up until this point in my life, I can look back at everything I've ever been through and go, wow, I can't believe I overcame that because I never thought I was going to make it through that. And so then you just learn as you grow and you age, you're like, there's never been an obstacle in my life I haven't been able to overcome. And if that's it, then let's take a little risk.
Well, in life, if you want to live your life, you need to live outside of that comfort zone, right? Like I've had enough jobs that could have been careers for the rest of my life. I mean, I was a firefighter. I worked for CN Rail. I've worked so many different jobs that could have been the career that I could have chosen to go with the rest of my life. But it wouldn't have challenged me. It wouldn't have fulfilled what I want out of this life. And now being an entrepreneur again and being able to change people's lives on a daily basis, it's a beautiful thing. Like, don't get me wrong, when I was firefighting, got to do the same thing, but it was on a different scale, right? I was showing up on the worst day of people's lives. Now I get to show up every day, right? And you get to really see that impact in driving people's results.
And you get to create those relationships. And no matter what your goal is, it's about relationships. Your relationships with your loved ones, your relationships with yourself, your relationships with the world around you and the business that you're creating, or the goal that you're trying to manifest and achieve. It's all about relationships.
I think the biggest one that I've found when we're coaching clients is the relationship with self. Because until one of our clients has a good relationship with self, it's really hard to push them outside of that comfort zone. It's really hard to push them kind of to their limits until they've learned that self-efficacy, that love for self before, if that makes sense.
Have you noticed anything like that in your coaching?
Yeah, a few recently actually, because I've just, like I mentioned, like I'm just getting really into it. I guess I've been in the program for 12 weeks now, but it's intensive. So I'm coaching at least 10 to 15 clients, give or take now, on a weekly basis for my practicum. And it's amazing to see. It's like I'm like, okay, I finally found my calling, because it's like I really want to empower people. And so I had a few sessions last week, and just seeing people like get stuck in the setting of the business, and maybe some things holding them back a little bit, and we were able to kind of go back and forth a little bit. It's like they call coaching like dancing, because you're trying to figure out, like, you're trying to poke holes to see the lights kind of in a way. And then at the end of the conversation, they were like, I feel so empowered. I feel like I can take on the world. And that's so exciting, because like I mentioned before, when you start your own business or just getting into it, or even if it's 2 to 3 years, sometimes you get hit, like you get stuck. You're like, am I really on the right path? But seeing that light and getting people that just so much more excited again, and they're ready to take off and go forward. It's such, like, I can't even describe it, to be honest. Like, I didn't want to say excitement, but it's so much more than excitement. But also saying too, like, I used to work at a 9 to 5 in the corporate and tech industry, and this was never fulfilled. I get bored really easy. Just never understood why. Like, I should be happy with what I'm doing, and then kind of like there was just something missing. And then luckily I had my daughter, and it kind of was like kind of a wake up moment, being like, who says we have to have a 9 to 5? Unfortunately, in society, it's like go to high school, go get your degree, go into a 9 to 5. But to be honest, I think we're going to see such a big transition moving because of COVID. I think COVID kind of stirred the pot a little bit, and people are now seeing like they're not happy really at their 9 to 5. Oh, what's this online space? Mm-hmm. Oh, I can start my own business doing X, Y, and Z. Why not? I have flexibility finally, because a lot of employers say that they'll be flexible, but unfortunately, when you sign that contract and you get in there, they're not flexible. So I think people are they're stirring up a little bit, and we're going to see such a transition of entrepreneurs starting in different realms in the online space and so much more. So it's exciting to see. I think we're in the right kind of realm for sure to see how it's going to move and pivot.
So when it comes to helping empower people and helping them see their own light and get out of their own way, what do you do to really help ignite that spark? Because that brings in that relationship with self. When we feel empowered and excited about something, that's like that deep internal driver. So how do you pull that out of someone?
Mm-hmm. Well, each process is different with each client. Like we have a set of questions that we kind of go through, and I can't restate the same question sometimes with the same client because it's all different subject matters. But it's really, sometimes you have to say the right question because they end up pulling it out themselves. So that's the thing that I love about coaching is I'm in partnership with you to find your own solution that you already know. So it's like, it's empowerment even more so. It's finding their own strengths that they know they had, but they're struggling to get there kind of situation. But every client's completely different because they bring so much to the table. So one aspect we could be talking about personal things, and then it can switch to business. Because let's be honest, sometimes business goes into personal goes into business. So they kind of overlap. But yeah, each client so far has been completely different in their own journey, and it's awesome to see. And everyone's kind of also either just starting out their own business or maybe at 10 years in their business.
Totally. So I think that one of the points that you kind of made there is that driver, that empowerment feeling, really as a coach, we're pulling that out of you, and that is you igniting your own spark. And in coaching, we call it motivational interviewing, right? We're really helping people motivate themselves and to come up with those solutions. If you think about it, if you went back to high school, and do you remember when you'd like put up your hand and you'd ask your like teacher for the answer? I mean, I at least had one teacher that I used to he would drive me nuts. He'd be like, it's in your textbook somewhere. And I was like, seriously. But what it did teach me was that I needed to find my answer myself. And so if as a coach, we're constantly giving people answers to their solution, then they're less likely actually to follow through on it. Like there's science and there's data to show this, so that they're less likely to follow through in it, and they're less likely to be motivated by it. Whereas if we're doing one-on-one coaching and you decide this is the action I want to take, this is the path I want to go on, that becomes self-efficacy, and that self-efficacy drives us further because we're actually motivated internally, that intrinsic motivation versus that extrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's huge. I mean, when we can be motivated internally, that you can really go so much further.
One thing I always used to say, I used to run a fire hall, so what I used to always say to the guys was, if they had a problem, I had no problem helping them out. I would always give them the answer eventually. But I always said, if you have a problem, come to me with a solution. I don't care if it is the worst solution ever. Like, it could not even make any sense. But don't just come to me and say, I have this problem, fix it. Really start to get those wheels turning. You have a problem, that's great. What's your solution for it before I give you what I would do? Because sure, I have the experience and I have the knowledge behind me to be able to fix your problem. But if you don't try yourself, then there's no learning process there, right? So you would have hated me as a high school teacher.
Well, that's true though. I own an online space, and I have a team of ladies, and they and sometimes they do come to me for the answer to the solution, and I kind of say back, I'm like, Google sometimes, because that's all sometimes what I do is I do Google, but it's also that's why I love and learning more tools for coaching, because at the end of the day, I want each individual person to show up as a leader and be empowered to their own ability, because they can all achieve greatness.
100%. And that is totally the difference between hiring a coach, doing group coaching, and doing one-on-one coaching, right? So we call it different tiers of service, right? So you can do your own tier of service where you're doing your own research, you're Googling answers.
$0, but a lot of work.
It's a lot of work because you got to kind of weed through what is the truth, what is not necessarily the truth, what is founded by research, what is not, you know what I mean? Like there's so much to weed through rather than just believing what you see on social media at face value sometimes. And then there's tier 2, which is going to be like group coaching, and group coaching is great. Don't get me wrong, there's tons and tons of value there, but 9 times out of 10 group coaching is the coach speaking to the group and not that dynamic where we're having conversation back and forth and we're pushing each other.
I will say the one thing about group coaching that is nice is that sometimes somebody in the group will ask a question that you hadn't thought of yet, but that, resonates well with you. And it's like, oh, that was something that I, would have stumbled on eventually. So I will say that about group coaching too.
There is some great aspects. Like I don't want to like harp on it because there is some really great aspects. You're getting that different perspective. You also get feedback from other participants that are saying, hey, this is the way I saw this really helped me. So like there is really great dynamic to group coaching as well. And then when you have that one-on-one coaching, you're working one-on-one with that coach and they are now really seeing you and your goal at face value and able to push you closer towards that goal. And I'm going to say in a faster amount of time, depending on what you're willing to do. And I think that that's what I always say to my clients is, what are you willing to do right now? Because yes, there might be a straight line from A to B to get you to the goal, but there's never one way to get to a goal. So if you're not willing to take these actions yet to get to that goal, we can go a roundabout way to get there. It might take a little bit longer, but we have to work with what you're willing to do, what you're capable of doing, and really to just begin to build on those success, because we're really big on building on small fundamental changes to create lasting change with our clients.
Well, it'd be the same for yourself too, where it's not even necessarily what they're willing to do, but what they have room for in their life too. Because if you have a client that is working a regular 9 to 5 plus overtime and everything else, and they are looking at getting into the entrepreneurial world, and they might not have time to have the most direct route to that goal because of their 9 to 5 job. So then it's like, okay, well now we're kind of dancing around these other obstacles and really finding what is the most efficient route for this person with the time they have available.
Yeah, 100%. And what I'm doing with my coaching is combining it with mentoring. So it's coaching and mentoring. So we go through the coaching process, and if I can just see people just spinning their wheels, maybe it's marketing specific, I announce, I'm like, okay, I'm taking off my coaching hat for now, and let's dive in on the mentoring side of things. Let's talk all things marketing. Let's strategize here. Let's look at the business as a whole, because I can hear you say this, and I can see you do this, like reading some body movements. I just feel at this point, we're just going in a circle and we're not getting to the next step. So let's analyze some data. Let's do this. And then I announce sometimes, okay, now going back into the coaching hat. Just so people can...
Coaching hat back.
Well, because a lot of people think that I'll give advice right away. And I don't want to, because I want to understand and hear where they're coming from first and really understand certain situations. So I'll just use social media, for example. Some people don't like to show up authentically on social media. But sometimes they don't want to tell me that right away. So we go through this whole process, and then finally we get to the end, and it appears of they don't want to show up. And it's like, okay, let's rewind a little bit. And then I can kind of hear their process a bit, and then I announce I'm going in the mentoring hat, and I create strategies that would best fit for what they feel comfortable with right now, and then give them some actual items to kind of move forward with. So I'm kind of playing the hat right with my practice of being a coach and a business mentor, because I've built my business. So kind of combining the two. I'm still finessing not saying the coaching mentoring hat, because I want clients to understand when they're in that coaching setting than when we're in the mentoring setting. Because a lot of people that I've worked with right now have just give me advice, which is great, but I'm using coaching in a sense to really empower people too, because at the end of it, they're going to get so much more and they're going to feel so much more excited to execute than you just giving full advice.
I love that, because that's really how we live with our coaching too. I mean, I always joke that we're like working ourselves out of a job eventually, because our goal with coaching is to give clients all of the information and tools and resources that they need to be successful long term, right? So that they can then go ahead and accomplish any goal imaginable because they already know how to do it. And that, I love that you're, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do this too. As much as I want to keep you as a client, I also know as a coach that coaching isn't a lifelong thing with the same person. You need to change up that coach once in a while, because there's a different coach for each different aspect of your life. And so being empowered to, now I'm going to teach you this. Now you're going to learn this skill and this resource and be able to go forward in that respect. One of the things I know I had a hard time with when I first stepped into coaching was that differentiation between I am your coach, I am not your friend. And I've really stepped into that myself, going, okay, I am your coach. Right now I'm wearing coaching hat. If I see you out for a cup of coffee, I am your friend, and I am not wearing coaching hat. There is no judgment. I mean, there's no judgment on either end of the spectrum, but there's no judgment no matter what. I'm not going, hey, you better record that on your food logs. Like, that's, if I'm in that friend role, it's a different role. And I think that sometimes what I've noticed is that clients that are also friends have a hard time differentiating that on their own. They're like, oh, don't judge me. I'm like, there's never any judgment. I don't care which side of the spectrum we're on. I want to help you live your best life and achieve whatever goal imaginable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's the one rule that we're always learning. And well, obviously there's no judgment by any means, but as a coach, that's one thing that we talk about in class is when you're in kind of settings, even with friends, it's important to kind of just say, like, yes, I am your friend, but right now I'm coming in the coaching setting, and this is about the coaching space. This is a safe space, no judgment. And even like as a friend, like I would never judge as well, but it's just like reassurance to kind of restate it.
Totally. And it's, I think sometimes that judgment for people comes really from within themselves, from them projecting that on the coach or that friend, going, hey, I have this judgment about myself, but I'm going to project it onto you and make myself feel that you're the one that's judging me, when in fact it's really you judging yourself. And that is something that we have to take a good hard look at sometimes. It's like, okay.
So sometimes that's exactly it. When they have those, you can tell it's like that self-judgment that they're like Kayla was saying, projecting out towards, like it's coming from you. And when you do put that coaching hat back on, saying something along the lines of, well, when we saw you out there and you immediately went on the defensive about what you were doing, why was that important to you? Because you knew that you were going outside of what you said you were going to do, so then it can turn into that coachable moment outside of the immediate event. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah.
So just to kind of do a quick little recap here, if any of our listeners are continuing to listen, it's like, okay, what are the benefits of having a coach? So we know we're going to get our results faster. We know we're going to learn about our limiting beliefs and how to get out of our own way. We're going to learn how to create like self-imposed empowerment, but really that's drawn out by the coach, right? What other great aspects can you see to coaching that maybe for our listeners that might not already taken that leap yet? What else would you suggest?
I think a big thing for what I want to do anyways is leadership development. Which kind of ties in towards like empowerment. You have to be empowered to be a leader to be empowered. I think anyways. So for me, it's really important for leadership development and creating some tactile pieces for anyone that works with me that they can take and move forward with. Because the one thing that I see that a lot of people struggle with is their pricing. And then also doing the initial calls, like sales calls, and then sales calls just on or Instagram, and it's just like that's like that vicious cycle. And to be in that empowerment state, you have to show up as a leader as well, because you are the CEO of your own company, and you have to be a leader, and who knows, maybe that you have to outsource more or gain employees, and so you have to be that leader, because then now all of a sudden you have to lead a team to execute to your goals. So that part for me is really important for the coaching piece. There's so many coaches out there. So there's life coaches, relationship coaches, career coaches, authenticity coach. I work with a few coaches too on the other side of my business, and I just love seeing how niche specific everybody is, because I feel like there's so much you can kind of hone in on in somebody's life development as a whole to really help them shine.
I love that you said leadership, and I know that you're talking about it in respect to business, but I think that it can pertain to any goal. When it comes to leadership, that's that self-efficacy, that ability that this is the goal I want, this is the direction I want to travel, and that I need to take action on that. The only way I'm going to achieve that is by being my own leader, by being my own person that takes that action. And we always say action comes before motivation, right? We hear it all the time. Clients are like, I'm just not motivated to do that. I don't know. I'll wait. I'll do that tomorrow when maybe my motivation's a little higher. And it's like, no, that action comes first, but that action comes from deep inside, and that comes from that leadership quality of, okay, I'm ready to take action because I want this bad enough. And I think sometimes that's where that leadership quality is. It's like, I'm willing to step up to the plate because I want it bad enough, or I want to get out of pain or whatever is that negative feeling that's pulling me back. So people are always motivated towards pleasure, or they're motivated away from pain. So in order to draw that leadership quality as a coach, we definitely need to discover, are you running away from some sort of pain, or are you motivated towards something that's exciting? And when we're motivated towards something that's exciting, we're more likely to take that action.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you put that all together.
So thank you so much for spending the time with us talking all things coaching today, Brittany. We have absolutely loved having you and your knowledge, and we can't wait to watch and see how more clients that you really begin to empower into that leadership space. It's truly exciting.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's been so great chatting with you both. I'm so excited to watch your guys' journey as well. And looking forward to connecting more, and maybe there's some kind of more partnerships we can do together.
100%. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, where would they find you?
You can go to my website at creativedynamicsva.com, or social media is the handle, which I'll send to you, Creative Dynamics VA. We're more active on Instagram than anything else. I do more reels and more entertainment over on that end, but we do have Facebook and Instagram, or LinkedIn as well.
Wonderful. We'll link that all through in the show notes so everybody will have access to it. They don't have to go looking for it anymore. But that way they can at least hear where they can Google you right now. But thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We've truly really enjoyed having you.
Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
If you loved today's episode and want more information on the services that Creative Dynamics Virtual Services offers, check them out at creativedynamicsva.com. Or you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Creative Dynamics Virtual Services or Creative Dynamics VA. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Have an amazing rest of your day.